Police say a 17-year-old girl and her boyfriend may have been involved in the deaths of her grandparents.
Giving me hope and strength for the days to come, because it's going to be a long road.
A phone call was made to the state of Georgia, and the voice on the other end was frantic and desperate. It was Johnny Ryder's mom, and she had no idea that her call would unravel a horrific story that would shock the nation. "My son, he's attacked his sister and her boyfriend," she stammered, her voice trembling with fear. The police arrived at the scene expecting a domestic dispute, but found out that Johnny Ryder and his girlfriend, Cassandra Bjorge, had allegedly assaulted his sister and her boyfriend. That night, Ryder and Bjorge were at the Rambling Woods drive home, shared by his sister and mother. When his sister arrived home, she found out that her room and the apartment had been torn apart with several items missing. This led to a fierce altercation between Ryder, Bjorge, his sister, and the sister's boyfriend. The altercation had been brutal, with Ryder spraying his sister and her boyfriend with pepper spray and fists flying around. He also yelled at Bjorge to get a baseball bat, which she used to strike the head of Ryder's sister repeatedly. However, as soon as the police were called, Ryder and Bjorge fled the scene, but this was just the tip of the iceberg. The violent incident was the first domino to fall in a chain of events that would lead investigators to a horrifying discovery. The police found a car that belonged to Bjorge's grandparents at the home where the assault took place. Following the assault, the police began to dig deeper into Ryder's background. Their investigation led them to Cassandra Bjorge, Ryder's 17-year-old girlfriend. Cassandra was a troubled teenager with a history of behavioral issues. She had dropped out of school and was living with her grandparents, Wendy and Randall Bjorge. Previously, out-of-state relatives had contacted the police to check on Bjorge's grandparents' welfare. The officers visited the home, but did not enter the house because there was no probable cause, and they wanted to respect the privacy of the Bjorges. However, now that they had found a car belonging to Bjorges at the apartment of Ryder's sister, they had credible reasons to visit the home and enter it. When the police arrived at the Bjorges' residence, they had to force entry into the home and were met with a scene straight out of a horror movie. Wendy and Randall Bjorge, both 63, were found dead in their home. The elderly couple had been brutally beaten and stabbed, and their throats slashed. This is when the realization set in that Cassandra Bjorge and Johnny Ryder were not just troubled teenagers. They were now prime suspect in a gruesome double murder. The police were left with a gruesome puzzle to solve, and as they delved deeper into the case, they uncovered a chilling plot that Cassandra Bjorge and Johnny Ryder had meticulously planned and executed. The couple had allegedly spent days planning the murders of Wendy and Randall Bjorge. They had thought out every detail, from the method of murder to the disposal of the bodies. The plan was as cold-blooded as it was horrifying. According to the prosecutors, the defendants entered the couple's home at night.
He started going at it, and then, I could hear my grandpa just yelling, them fighting, and then I started getting the rush, and then, that's when I started hitting my grandma.
They kicked and punched the elderly couple, struck them with a tire iron, and stabbed them to death. But the horror didn't end there. After the murders, Cassandra and Johnny sealed the bodies in a bedroom. They caulked the doors shut in the house to keep the odor of decaying human flesh from being detected outside. And what's even more terrifying was that in the days that followed, the teens stayed in the home, ordered takeout food, smoking marijuana, and even hosted parties, all while the bodies of Wendy and Randall Bjorge lay decomposing in another room. The police were stunned by the level of planning and execution that had gone into the crime. It was planned, it was executed correctly, according to their plan, said one investigator. After the police discovered Wendy and Randall Bjorge dead, they immediately declared Ryder and Bjorge wanted.
I just continue to be stunned that you sealed areas so that you could make sure the smell of decaying human flesh wouldn't be noticed, that you had parties and ordered Chinese food with two people that you had brutally murdered lying upstairs.
The couple was found barricaded in an apartment off McGinnis Ferry Road where Ryder's friend lives. The Gwinnett County SWAT team was activated, leading to an hour-long standoff. As the tension escalated, the unthinkable happened. Bjorge and Ryder, cornered and desperate, attempted to end their own lives. Eventually, the police used a robotic device to gain access to the apartment, where they found Ryder and Bjorge lying unconscious in the bathroom with self-inflicted knife wounds. They were cutting wounds and using at least one knife to inflict the wound. Emergency service rushed into the scene, and the teenagers were transported to Gwinnett Medical Center for treatment. The arrest of Bjorge and Ryder marked the end to a horrifying chapter of murder, but it was just the beginning of a long journey for justice. These shocking acts committed by these young individuals have left a huge question. How could something like this happen?
She also stated that they were planning on killing Johnny's family, and there was plans on killing her mother also.
What has prompted Bjorge to murder her grandparents cruelly? It seemed as if Bjorge had enough of her grandparents and felt no remorse for her actions.
It's bad. In all of the interviews that law enforcement had with her, she never expressed any remorse, never showed any remorse. One of the deputies overheard her say, "Look at me on TV, I'm a star."
Cassandra Bjorge, known as Cassie, was born and raised in Atlanta before she later moved to Lawrenceville, Georgia. Bjorge was a teenager with a troubled past. She had dropped out of school and had a long juvenile court history. Her behavioral issues were so severe that her mother, Amanda Sterling, had to relinquish custody. Out of empathy and compassion for her, Bjorge's grandparents, Wendy and Randall Bjorge, took her in, hoping to provide stability and remove her from a negative peer influence in Duluth. However, the behavioral problems did not end when Cassie moved in with her grandparents. There were at least 13 calls to police from the home, including several domestic dispute calls, illegal drug suspicion calls, and an assault charge for Bjorge striking a grandparent. She was considered a habitual runaway who frequently absconded from her grandparents' home by the police. She had been reported missing twice by her grandparents before the murder of them took place, one when she was 16 and another a few months after she was found the first time. Even after that, she had no history of violence. So what then went wrong? The biggest negative influence on her life was her relationship with her boyfriend, Johnny Rider.
When you guys met at the park, did he ever go over the actual plan on how you guys would do it or anything like that? Or like, what was that about?
Well, I mean, we were just trying to figure out how to get money. How we started talking about it was, like, we started out, like, with, you know, what time should we go to the house? How are we gonna do this? You know, like, what you know, materials do we need to, you know, do?
He was known for his rebellious nature and had a history of run-ins with the law. He also had a long history of violence.
That's the reason why he asked me if I wanted to kill my grandparents, because he wanted to already kill his family. And he was like, let's be part of the car.
You said that?
Yeah, I was like, okay.
After her recovery, she faced a Gwinnett County judge for the first time. In court, the judge denied bond for Bjorge and charged her with 2 felony warrants for murder and 2 felony warrants for aggravated assault.
All right, Ms. Borge, you are charged with 2 felony warrants for murder, 2 felony warrants for aggravated assault. You have no bond on the murder charges. Only a superior court judge can consider you for bond.
Cassandra Bjorge and Johnny Rider were both sentenced to 2 life sentences. They also received an additional 21 years to be served concurrently with the life sentences, with the possibility of parole set at 60 years. Rider, who could have faced the death penalty had the case gone to trial, pleaded guilty to the crime. He asked for forgiveness in court, saying, "Please, I beg you all, forgive me for what I've done." Bjorge, on the other hand, remained silent throughout. So we like to ask you, does he deserve forgiveness?